Frank. How you doing? It's good to see you. Hey, Conti.
How we doing?
Great, man. Great. All right, hey, joining us now here out at Westfield. Colts practice just ended. Their head coach is Frank Reich. How's things going to this point?
Everything's going well. Just had a nice, short, crisp practice. And, gearing up now for our first preseason game against the Bills, so tying up some loose ends.
What exactly do you look for? What makes a nice, crisp practice in your eyes?
Tempo, right? Not too many pre-snap penalties, good concentration. You don't want to see guys jumping off sides. That kind of thing, and then just solid execution.
Yeah, and it's probably difficult. You got so many dudes coming at so many different directions. When you get that, it probably makes it even more special because, you got so many people out there to try to evaluate at that point in time.
Well, what's funny is, and of course, now as a head coach, and you're for both sides of the ball, so if we're executing on offense, that means that or vice versa. So how do you have a good practice on both sides of the ball? I'm still trying to figure that one out.
So you're saying there's a little bit of good and there's a little bit of bad?
Exactly.
All right, so how do you break it down in your coaching head then?
You know what? We just look at it per play, per phase, per player, and you break it down into its smallest parts. And how, looking at the fundamentals and technique, right now we focus a lot on, in executing our schemes, we talk about getting the right lineup, using the right fundamentals and technique, and then making the play when it comes your way. So that's what we do.
Frank, before you got here, Chris, when he first got this job, kind of preached about what he wanted, and he wanted positional battles in camp. A couple of years later, is that what we're getting right now? How much better is it, for example, than it was this time a year ago?
Yeah, it's good. The roster is getting stronger and stronger, and Chris and his staff are doing a great job of that. We just feel like we're getting the right kind of players, and then the players that fit our schemes, and you can feel those positional battles taking place out there.
What's the deepest position? Give me a couple of examples of the positions you've really been impressed with so far.
This is going to sound like a pat answer, but, to me, the coach, it's like when you look at your own kids, I feel like we're strong at every position. I don't feel like we have a weakness. I feel like every position we got depth. There's competition. We got guys that can play winning football 2 and 3 deep. That's how we see it.
So Frank Reich with us, your rookie class. I've heard some good things about Rock Ya-Sin so far. And, I know that early on, at least in the process, we heard a lot of good things about Paris Campbell. How are the rookies looking to you, Frank, to this point?
Well, you're right. Rock, he's as advertised, tough, competitive. Seems like he can go all day. This guy never gets tired. He's making plays out. He made some really big plays, this first 10 days of camp. And, Paris was doing great until his hamstring. So that, that's slowing him down here a little bit. And the other guys have looked good in 2 ways. One is, can you learn the system and line up and execute that way? But then 2, fundamentally, can you do things the way we're asking you to do it? Because at this level, the competition is so great. In college, they may have been the better athlete, and you can get away with it, still winning your one-on-one matchup and not being right with technique. Here, you can't do that.
Here's Frank Reich, the head coach of the Colts with us. Westfield Grand Park. His practice just ended. I kind of buried the lead a little bit because I kind of wanted to give you a couple of minutes off, but it's noticeable that the
appreciate that.
Number, but I do have to ask. Number 12 has not been out there. You went over this on Saturday. Where are you, let's say, 1 to 10, that everything is just going to be okay? Because keep this in mind, I talk to people every day, Colts fans, and 2 years ago it wasn't, so that is still in the back of a lot of minds. Where is it with you right now as far as your reassurance that he is going to be good to go for the start of the season?
Yeah, I'm optimistic, and the reason I'm optimistic is because of my belief in him and my belief in our players. So I know that he's doing everything he has to do to be ready. And it just, most of the time, guys like him, they figure it out. They know, they figure it out. They know what they got to do. They know when it's best to press forward full speed and when to pull back a little bit. And so that's why I have so much confidence.
Was that situation something that you noticed, that the training staff noticed, or he noticed, as far as why he needed to dial things back?
No, that came from Andrew.
From him.
Yeah, as far as we're concerned, our job is to continue to push and challenge, but you got to do that. And this is the big leagues. This is, yes, there's the coach and the player, but we're grown men, and we've been doing this for a long time, and our players have been doing this for a long time. So you got to be able to communicate back and forth. And so in that communication with Andrew, it became very apparent that we needed to dial it back.
Yeah, this is a hypothetical here, and I know you don't deal in hypotheticals, so you'll probably not want to answer it, but I'll ask it anyway. It seems like this has been a learned process for him, because this might have been something, and this is prior to you being here, this might have been something that he would not have dialed back previously. Is that accurate?
No, I think that's fair. I think that's fair, and I think that's not really hypothetical. I think it's real. After what he went through with his shoulder, Andrew was always the kind of guy he's such a team-first player, right? It's his nature to want to always be out here, taking it for the team, doing the right thing. And to his credit, he's done that his whole career. Well, there's a little bit of you that has to be, hey, sometimes the right thing for the team is, some might say, hey, I got to be selfish and take care of myself. That's not being selfish. That's doing the right thing for the team. And because you got to take a long-term approach, and I think he's doing that.
So Frank Reich with us. What does he do? I saw him at the tail end here, but what does he do when the rest of the guys are out here? What's his
That was nice.
daily routine?
Andrew came out at the end of practice. He finished his work inside and was able to get out here towards the end for 7-on-7 and then our 2-minute drill. And, we actually, Nick turned over the play calling to him for the 2-minute drill.
Oh, really?
He actually did pretty good. I think he has a career in play calling. I mean, he took us right down the field with his play calls, and they felt pretty good.
I was over here yip-yapping, so I didn't see it. So can you give the audience maybe the benefit of what I missed out here while yapping?
We had 2-minute drives, and in both those drives, he obviously the offense executed, but we had a couple big plays, which in a 2-minute drive that really helps matters. Jacoby hit a ball down the sideline to Funchess, and then Philip Wilson hit a deep post to Darius Fountain I think it was the first play of the drive. So
and Andrew was calling the plays.
Oh, he was dialing them up.
Wow. Well,
I think we'll ask him to keep playing quarterback, though. I think that'd probably be a good idea.
I was kind of wondering how I was going to phrase that to you. I mean, while it seems like a great idea, I mean, I still think I like.
Well,
to
no,
watch
part of the goal of that is, there's times out there where we want him to call his own plays, and that's part of our philosophy as an offense, is to empower the quarterback. And when you got guys like Andrew and Jacoby who can handle it, why wouldn't you want to do that? And not to call every play, but to be ready to call every play. And because that's the deepest level of ownership. We talk a lot about our players taking ownership of what we're doing. This is us together. And so that's one way to practice that.
Frank, do you and Nick and Andrew always agree with the call?
No, absolutely not.
How often do you?
There's not too many times, but what's good is, like, even today we had a situation where, there was a call. The calls were all good, but the situation at the end of the second drive, we talked through it afterwards. Hey, what do we think about? We talk about play sequences. How do you set things up? Down and distance situation. So even when it's always easy to second guess a call that doesn't. Of course, if it works, everybody's just high fiving. When you get stopped or you're kicking a field goal or punting, then you're by nature going to say, hey, what can we do better? So you talk through those sequences.
What's the offense going to look like in your mind compared to what we saw actually on the field a year ago, Frank?
Well, I think that, those last 10 games in which we had it going pretty well, I think it was just a good mix. We want to be balanced. We want to be multiple in our approach, which means we're going to be in multiple formations, multiple personnel groups. We want to run it and throw it. We as you've heard me say, running the ball is way more important than I think a lot of people give it credit for. I think it dictates the mindset of your team, and it's just really important to us. And with the offensive line we expect to be able to do that.
What level of patience do you have to have as a former quarterback, as having, for example, Andrew on the field, to not veer away from the run too quickly?
It's hard. I mean, I fell into that. It's easy to fall into that trap. And we always say, hey, there might be a game where we have to throw it 60 times to win, and you got to have the flexibility to be able to adapt and do that. But over the long run, I just know that does not work over the long run. So the good news is that we got a quarterback in Andrew who is he wants to run the football as well. He knows how important it is. So that helps a lot.
So Frank Reich, he is with us. Offensively, is there a lot more you plan on adding to the whole repertoire?
We're always adding and tweaking. Nick does a great job, with the staff and, of talking through and researching things. And hey, here's what we did all last year. How are we going to change it up? How can we make something look like what we did last year early in the year and make it look a little different and try to catch somebody by surprise? It's a little harder to catch people by surprise the longer you go in the year. So those first few weeks, you want to take advantage of it. And so we put a lot of effort into that, and hopefully you can steal a few plays here and there.
Is the schedule as daunting to kick off the season as the fans or me looking at it looks to you? I mean, how do you look at that as a coach?
I don't look at it. I really don't look at it. It sounds crazy, but I look at it week by week. I think it's every opponent is a good opponent, and if you play good football, you're going to win. If you play bad football, you're going to lose. So we focus on getting ready for each game. The circumstances, you got to have a mindset that the circumstances don't matter.
Yeah.
Home, away, night, day, Thursday, Sunday, Monday, whatever, it's just let's go play football.
Is one thing, Frank, before I let you go, that you learned from last year as a rookie head coach in the NFL that is easily transferable to not just this year, but the rest of the way? I mean, one really big thing that you learned.
That is, it just continues to be emphasized to me that the players, there has to be ownership by the players. And we have that because we have those kind of players who not only have the talent, but have the belief in one another, the belief in what we're doing, the conviction about those things, that when things don't – because things are at times are not going to go well, whether it's in a game or over the course of a season. And you have to have the kind of leadership in the locker room that can carry you through those tough times.
As far as not Andrew Luck injury, but everybody else, how's the relative health of these guys out here after a little over
It's
a week?
good. I mean, I think we've been smart in our training. I would say compared to last year, we've run a few less plays. I think the intensity has been hard and fast, but a little bit less volume, trying to be really cognizant of, keeping guys fresh and healthy.
It's Frank Reich with us. So everybody remain calm. All is well, right? Is there ever going to be getting tired of that? See, 2 years ago you weren't here, and it was even worse. So I mean, it
just goes. It's just part of the program.
It is.
And from the inside, there's never anything that's. And it's always calm. I mean, we don't worry about.
Well,
those
I mean,
things.
you're built for that. I think you're built for that constant questioning. Thank you, Frank.
Well, good being with you.
Yeah, right back at you. Frank Reich, the head coach of the Colts, there with us. He's going to go meet some people right now.